Thanks, Christine. So hopefully that this isn't your first time to see this. Hopefully you were here this morning or yesterday. If it was your first time, we're going to go a lot deeper. We may not cover things in quite the same format, but hopefully your neighbors that were here will be able to explain anything that's missing to you. So what I want to do is I want to open this up more of as a forum, and I want to be able to address your questions in a way that answers them thoroughly. As we launch this, again, we're not completed in building it, so you're early in the process, but there's enough complete that you'll be able to move your organization forward quickly, and we want to get you up to speed as quickly as we can. So what I wanted to show you first is what you as broker owners or staff that work for agents, or if you're an individual agent that takes care of your own listings, how to improve your listings right now so that you can have the best presentation going out to the consumers as soon as possible, or to your fellow agents. So in your Interface Express account, you see how there's exposure over to the right. So I'm impersonating Eugene here. I'm going to click on his exposure account, and it opens up his, what we call the control center, the exposure control center. So under his account here, we'll see that he's already added his image, which is great. He's enabled his PCS, and I'll show you what that looks like. He's added a written biography, and he's checked the green box and saved the changes. If you do not check this green box, this will not display. Okay, so remember when you see this checkbox to display biography on website that's included. He's not added a video biography yet, but maybe he will work on that. He's also added his cell phone number so that he doesn't mind if clients phone him directly on his cell phone, and he's checked that box and that's loaded. His website is there in place. Here's something you can do too. You don't need to have the HTTP, the // You can cut that out if you want it to be a bit shorter. So we're just going to save those changes. Now, let's go to his listings. So under his listings tab, and we're going to click on one of these listings. So this little green button will open up that listing website that's created. So every listing that you have in the MLS now, a website has been created for it. It's sitting there waiting for you to upgrade it if you choose to. Okay, so we're going to look at that listing. So we see his photo is exactly as he wanted it. His website shows up. If your website is too long, it just changes it and it says visit website. So if you keep it a little bit shorter, you get that access. So when you click on it, out it goes to his website. The PCS that he enabled is here, so it allows clients now to sign up to his PCS account. When you do get a client, remember you're going to get an email, and if you do not click Activate Client Now, you're going to leave that client hanging. All right, so that means they came to your site, they went through the effort of signing up to PCS with you, and then you let them hang there. It doesn't make you look very good. That's why we make you turn PCS on, so that you know that you have to activate that client when you get an email, okay? We don't want anybody to look bad in any consumer's eyes. Now, if you look at these photos, you see, I mean, this projector's fuzzy anyway, but on my screen, they look a bit fuzzy. And it's because the current system only allows a certain size or resolution of image. The new exposure system upgrades those tremendously. So what you can do to upgrade your listings or the listings for all of your agents is you can go to their account, you can click Edit, and then you're in the listing information area. So here you can go down to Photos, and you can replace the MLS photos. Now there's a caveat here. If you replace the photos, it will show on the whole public side of things. It will show when you open up the website under the search, but it will show the original photos here. So let me give you an example. We do a search. We get these, let's just look at thumbnail view. If you click on this, it'll be the old smaller format photos. They will not change until you start using autoload. Then it'll be full-size photos throughout the entire system. I know this is confusing, but it's the only confusing part. If you click here and open it up, when it opens up in your website and you go to photos, it will be the full-size format there, okay? So that's the only kind of a negative, is it when you replace those photos, the old ones still stay in certain parts of the system. Once you start using autoload to upload your listings, there'll be full res photos throughout the entire system. Any questions on that? No? Okay, so let's go back to his listings and click edit. So if you upgrade your photos, then when you go to build a brochure, the brochure will look much better. We'll build a brochure now using his old photos, but you're going to see it's not going to look very good, and it won't look very good when you print it because they'll look kind of fuzzy. They're too small. So replace those before you go to build a brochure. If you have floor plans, click on Upload Floor Plans. You can upload one or multiples at a time. Let's say we're going to put 2. You can choose those and make sure that you name them. Some people don't realize, and they leave them all the main floor, and so the tabs say main floor, main floor, main floor. It doesn't make you look very good. So we want to make sure you look really good in everything you do. So call it whatever it is, say the second floor. Eugene, make sure that I erase this stuff when I'm done, otherwise people are going to wonder what's going on. But let's just save those changes. And this is live, but we'll get rid of it right away, I promise you, Eugene. So let's go back and let's click on that link. You see there's floor plans there now. Main floor, second floor. Okay, so that's live for the public and all the agents to see. So let's just go back to floor plans and we'll get rid of those. And just to be sure, they're gone. Okay. Sometimes if you make changes, you may need to refresh that browser. Just don't get caught up in that where you go back and you open the page and you wonder why nothing's changed. Always refresh your browser. Sometimes if you make a big change, you need to go in and delete your cookies, delete your history, then reopen that website again and the new changes will be there. So unfortunately, that's a bit of a drawback with computers, is they have a memory and they save that existing website that you've already opened once. So don't get caught with that little trick. Let's say that you have a video tour that you've produced for this listing. You can upload that video tour here. You can also name it whatever you want. Just be careful that you don't go over 15 characters, because then it starts to go off of the website and it doesn't look so good. So get creative in keeping it under 15 characters. If you don't name it something specific, then it'll just be called video tour. But you could say it's the cottage tour if you have a video of a cottage or something to that effect. Under the 3D showcase, this is, you know, the term that Matterport uses, but you can use any type of a 3D tour here. You can get the ones where you can download them to your phone. Actually, Matterport is just releasing a beta version that you can use on your phone, and you can get a little camera called a Theta, and there's another one. And it's just a little camera that you control with your phone, and it takes a panorama of the room, and then you move the camera a few feet ahead, you do another panorama. The system is smart enough to tie all those panoramas together to create a walkthrough. It doesn't create a floor plan, but it's a cheaper way for you to do this yourself. And the reason Matterport's doing that is so that it gets people started down the road of creating better media. Eventually you end up using a professional photographer to use with the proper camera that does a much better, clearer version. It's a much higher res version, but the Theta camera, the version it produces, is pretty neat. And you'll be able to find that on the Matterport site. The iGuide version is a competitor with Matterport. They're a Canadian company. They focused more on creating accurate measurements and floor plans. And I was showing somebody earlier, the PDF that they create of the floor plan for you shows even how thick your walls are. It does the measurements inside the house and outside the house. It's actually stunning how accurate that product is. So if you're a brokerage looking or a photographer looking to move into technology there, iGuide, we're working with them in the sense that their photographers can push a button and it will automatically populate AutoLoad for, so when an agent assigns that photographer their work to populate AutoLoad, the push of a button, all of that stuff will go directly in. All of the measurements, photos, floor plans, virtual tour, everything will be populated. So it saves time and money for the agent, and that's kind of what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, any questions on virtual tours or media? Okay, good. This QR code, some people like them, some people don't. But you can download a 3x3 to put on your yard sign, or a 12x12 if you have a big billboard. That will go back to the site that was built for your listing, okay? And some people like to use those. Okay, so here's the design center part. So you can go in, once you've replaced your photos, and you can go in and create a web brochure. If you do the web brochure, of course, it goes on the website. If you do create additional print material, it's simply for your printing needs. If you want to print a postcard or some type of a feature sheet. But let's go ahead and create a web brochure. And there's single pages here. There's double-sided. There's brochures, so you could have a 4-page brochure. I don't think I have any on me, but they, you know, if you print them on thick stock, they look really good. And so there's different options there to be able to choose from. Postcards, and again here, if you as an individual agent really have branded yourself and you're really fussy about how your brand gets out in front of people, you can get your own brochures put into this system. So you can contact us under the branding tab. So when we go back to our system here, we'll show you where that branding tab is. There's a one-time fee to put that in there, and it's typically anywhere between $50 to $100 per page. It costs you that once, and then it's done. Then it's there forever, okay? And you can build as many brochures as you want past that. It basically covers the labor of the person that's cutting it apart and putting it into the system. If you're a broker owner and you want to have templates customized to your brand, your brokerage, your colors, your logo, your look, you can put those in there again, one-time fee, and all of your agents will have access to them. And they can build all their print materials under your brand as a brokerage. So that means every time those agents spend money on print, your brokerage is getting marketed out into the public. So it's a good way of getting exposure. Let's just pick one of these. I always seem to pick this one for some reason. You can preview these different ones. Just click on the preview button to get an idea of what they look like, and then you can click edit. Okay, so we don't have a lot of photos here to choose from, but we have enough to build this. We'll see that it brings in the MLS information that he's added. It brings in his photo, all his office and so on information. If you ever see anything that's wrong here, make sure to reach out to us, and you can go to the little info or help button and get a hold of our technical team. But typically, it's all pretty good. So we're going to drag one of the photos over into the first slot. Maybe that's not the one, so we can just cancel that. Let's pick a pool shot instead. And move this box around till you get the crop that you want. Stretch to fit or stretch to shrink to fit. Only use those maybe if it's a floor plan that you're adding and you need to actually get it to fit. Otherwise, you're going to skew that photo, so don't use those. Use them very rarely. Typically just crop that image. Okay, and then below we have 4 more slots, so let's just drag the rest in there. Okay, now to change text, you actually need to get rid of that text. So like normal, you can highlight it. You've got some options of what type of text to put in there. And you can add whatever type of a title you want. Same with all these other boxes. They're editable if you want to edit them. Say you know this information, you can actually add this information for age, taxes, and tax year if that wasn't pulled from your MLS. Also, if there's specific things that suit your MLS that this system doesn't suit, let us know. We'll get those changes in place. Like, for example, do you have the tax amount and tax year available? No? So that would need to be changed and replaced with something that is available. So as we move forward with this system, you're going to see that there's going to be some things that don't perfectly suit your board. Please let us know what those are, and so that we can make it perfectly suit the Bahamas. If you don't want those in there, then just highlight them and let's take them out. Okay. All right, so basically we're done. Here, if you have a different template, you have your own template, you can actually add a text box or another photo box. So let's add a text box. And you can see it here. If you're going to drag it around, you got to grab it by the top left corner. So this is not for the faint of heart. This is a little bit more technical. You can barely see it, but it's there. You can drag the corner to make it bigger, and you can add your text here. So you need to scroll through that text, and this is my text. So if we highlight that and we make that text much bigger, I'm going to watch this not work for me. You can change the color and things like this. Typically, agents don't do this, but you can do this. You can add a photo box as well. And just showing you so that you know that it's there. So we're going to grab this photo box and we're going to put it here, and we're going to make it just a little bit bigger. And we're going to drag this photo here. Maybe we got a bug. We'll see. Okay. Let's just fix this one up again. So just be careful what box you're actually dropping them in. All right. So it doesn't look so good, but it gives you an idea that you have that flexibility within this system if you choose to use it. Because if you start getting into, say, 4-page or 6-page or 8-page type templates and booklets and so on, you have that ability to add a floor plan as an image, because your image, if you have added images in the JPEG, they will show up here as well. So you can drag that floor plan over and you can put a bit of text around it. So that flexibility is there. You can just click the X to delete them out of there, and it'll delete those boxes. Okay, so let's save changes. All right, if we go back down to marketing materials, we'll see that here it is under the web brochure. Let's view it or download it here. So there's your brochure. If we stretch it out a bit, you can see that the images aren't as good as you may like them to be. If we go back up and open this website, remember your URL is always at the top here under web URL. You click on that, it will open up that site, and notice there's a brochure there now. So when you click on brochure, there's the brochure that was created. Okay, so these upgrades can be put into your system today if you want to do that. So we'll go back to marketing materials and we're going to click remove. And that will remove that from his website and we'll save changes. Any questions on that design center? No? Okay, so it's created for you to evolve into this stuff. I know this isn't going to all of a sudden happen tomorrow, but you've got tools to be able to grow your business, improve your marketing, offer more value, and it's all there for your use. All right, if you want to change your brand, let's say you don't want that generic white template. So when I say generic white template, I'm talking about this look. You want to change the way that looks. You can go down to branding and you can create a custom brand. So what that means is basically it'll take you to the branding tab. You can let us know by getting started what type of a template you want. The price is $400 because it covers the cost of the designer to work back and forth with you. It also covers the cost of converting it into what's called CSS files and putting into place. Once it's in place, you have that brand to use on all your listings as well as your business page or the website, your personal website. You can use multiple brands if you want. So let's say you deal with residential and commercial, or you can do even a third. Let's say you do residential, regular, as well as high-end or luxury. And you want a different template for the luxury listings and a different template for commercial listings. You can have whatever look you want for the different listings you have. We haven't seen agents take it that far yet, but that's doable if you want it that way. And so you're not limited to one look. All right, let's just go back to his listings. Back down to branding. So if he had custom brands, they would be in place here and you would see images of them. And you could choose what brand you wanted that listing to show and display in. Under built-in brandings, you do have different options here. If you want to choose a different color, a different look, you can. So you could preview these. Just click on the preview button and it'll pull your listing into that look so you can see what it looks like before you select that one to be your template of choice. Do you like that one, Eugene? Sure? Okay. You can always change it back. And it'll only affect this one listing, just so you're aware of that. So maybe I will change it back. So click select and then save changes. And then let's just go back up to the top, click on this listing, and that listing will show in that template. Okay, so just remember, if you do change your look, you're going to need to change it on all your listings. There is a way, if you have 1,000 listings, if you get customized, we have a button we can push that'll change it across your whole platform. Okay, but we want to be careful with that because it can cause problems that you're not expecting. So if you do get a custom brand, you can request to us to please change all my listings and we'll do it for you. Okay, we're just going to go back. And save it to how it was. Okay, the custom link. This custom link will go to the very bottom of the menu of your listing website. And this is actually can be quite useful because there may be a property that you want to provide the consumer a lot of information on. And what you can do is you can get this whole PDF laid out exactly what you want, and you can upload it to your Dropbox account or your Box account or whatever kind of account you use, Google. And then you can put the URL right here. So you could title it property features, let's say, and that'd be the title. And in fact, let's do that. It's called we just got to make sure it's not too many. Yeah, so it cuts us off here. So we're going to have to get creative in our title, property data. And then we're going to use www.google.com. just as an example, you would put your URL to your Dropbox link. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, let's save that. If anybody's looking at this listing right now, Eugene, they're gonna wonder what's going on. Anyway, there it is, property data. When the user clicks on that link, it takes them to the URL that you set it to, okay? All right, we'll just get rid of that. Okay. Now, when it comes to comparables, there may be some of your listings that you know your price is way too high, and there's nothing you could do about it because the seller insisted on it. You may not want to show comparables on that property, right? So you can preview the comparables here, and you can see what it's bringing in. So it's bringing in the subject property as well as 10 comparables it's finding, or it's trying to find anyway. And in this case, it looks like it's doing a pretty good job. But let's say, again, yours is way overpriced and you just don't want to show that because your seller is going to be furious at you, and it's a $6 million house, and you know that's not what he wants. Just uncheck this comparables box and save changes, and that comparables tab will disappear off that listing. Okay? So just know that that option is there in those cases. So you have that ability to preview your comparables, but by leaving the comparables in place, it takes that buyer down the path of sticking with you. So let's just look at this. I found this listing. Maybe I found it on Eugene's site, maybe his broker's site, maybe the board's site. But anyway, I've came here. Maybe it was through social media. And I kind of like what I'm seeing, and I click on comparables, and I open one of these comparables. Oh, and it's still with Eugene. I like what I'm seeing. It tells me it's listing courtesy of the Bahamas MLS. And I keep looking. Oh, and then I like this. And then I decide, you know, I want to sign up to this to get these listings coming to me automatically through this website that's going to be set up. So I give Eugene my information. He clicks activate now, and I become one of his PCS clients. That's a very valuable process, and if we can make it free for you as agents, that's even better. And so using these tools in the right way through social media, through the different platforms, by getting it out there yourself. Lots of people use Facebook to advertise on. Does anybody advertise through Facebook? Yeah, it's pretty powerful, right? So let's say you just wanted to advertise this one site. And let's say it's a piece of land, and you know that men aged 50 to 60 are going to be looking to develop this land. You can go into Facebook, you can target age 50 to 60 males between 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock at night in this region of the Bahamas. Now, is that targeted or what? So use this product in that way, and you'll find it doesn't cost you a lot. Google AdWords can be targeted fairly good as well, but it's not cheap. At least it wasn't cheap when I was selling. It was getting up to $5 or $6 a click, and it was half the agents were clicking on it, right? So there's other ways to market cheaper. The consumer can say, well, you know, I don't know if I like those 10 comparables, and they can click here to view more properties, and it brings in every conceivable property that's available, and they can start going down here a little bit, narrowing it down to the type of property they want, the price, and so on. And again, every single listing sticks with that agent because that's how the consumer came through the system. All right? So it's an advantage equally to every agent. No one gets an advantage over someone else. It's just cooperative MLS. Yes. Okay. Yes, okay. That's a good question. So if you added, and we're going to cover this, let's just go back here. If you added floor plans or a 3D showcase, a virtual tour, those will be shared with all the other agents. If you added a video tour, a brochure, or an extra link, a custom link, those will not be shared through to other agents. So the consumer would need to come to the board site to find your listing. They would need to come to your brokerage site if you're using the exposure tools, or they would need to go to your site. Or if you advertise that site through Facebook and different means, they will find that, but not through another agent's account. That's all about you. So you can brand all of that stuff to you, okay? The Matterport one, we remove your branding out of it. We show the unbranded Matterport or iGuide automatically. The system's smart enough to do that, as well as floor plans. Try to leave your floor plans unbranded if you can. If we get too many complaints that people are putting their logo on this stuff, it's not going to work. And it'll all fall apart. That's the reality. The board does have the ability to go in and delete them, which is going to upset you as an agent. But if we set the rule as a board, because this area is unique onto itself, that we simply don't put branding on our floor plans, we don't put branding, well again, the Matterport's automated, but if we have another virtual tour that's not so automated, we need to put the unbranded version in place. And I think what we're going to do in our system is we're going to allow the agents to flag a listing that's not been loaded correctly. Let's say there's a listing that has data that you know is not right. Like we talked about earlier, let's say they added 5 photos and they're all the same photo. We're going to put a mechanism in there where you can anonymously flag that listing. The board will then get it. They will then contact that agent rectify the problem, or they can remove that listing from the system. Once it's done, the flag is removed, everybody's happy. Okay, so it's a little bit of tattletale, but if we get better data, we're all going to be served better. Okay, can we get the mic, Christine? There's a few hands out there. Let's take the comments.
I just wondered if we could do that for spelling and grammar mistakes as well. Oh my God.
Depends how tolerant the board is of getting flags. But you know, the better the spelling and the grammar is, the better that the industry looks. So I was talking to somebody earlier, our chain is only as strong as the weakest link. And if we have agents out there that are putting very poor quality information, they represent our industry. So let's try to bring everyone up in the kindest, most useful way possible, and maybe that flag could be used for stuff like that. Okay, was there another hand? No? Okay. All right. When you upload a video tour, let me go to an agent's account here. Yeah, let's go to another agent's account. Somebody asked me about YouTube. And let's just look at one of his listings here. Yeah, he's got a video tour, so Savannah. When you start using AutoLoad, you're going to see that it changes to AutoLoad here and marketing features here. The marketing features is where you can build your brochures, where you can edit that listing basically, use your QR code, remove your comparables. AutoLoad is where you'll go to mark that listing as sold, to do any changes to that listing, to mark an open house, anything like that. So we've simplified the process. Anytime you want to change anything to do with a listing, you go to AutoLoad. It's all in one place. And when you go to the data entry, you'll see that now your options are to change the listing, edit it, listing, price change, all of that stuff is there. So everything is now housed in that one department, because I know that was very complex before. So it's going to be easy for new agents to learn, and I think it's going to be easy for you guys to adapt to this new product. But let's go to marketing features. And there we see, maybe this isn't there anymore, sorry. No, it's not, sorry. So since we've got auto load, that little feature's been removed. I'll work on getting that put back in. So how it used to work is if you uploaded a video, you could push a button and it would upload it to your YouTube account. So if you were logged into YouTube, all you needed to do was push that and it would bring in the description, bring in the video. You would still need to add a title and you would need to put in your keywords. Does anybody know what keywords are for YouTube? Anybody not know? Yeah, okay, so if YouTube is the second most used search engine next to Google itself, and Google owns YouTube. So when somebody goes to YouTube, they actually will search. Like if I needed to change a part in my vehicle, I always just go to YouTube and look for a video that tells me how to do it, and then I watch it and I do it. So I go to YouTube itself, I click search, and I put in, I have a Ford Explorer. Everybody forgive me if you hate Fords, but and that's what, and then it tells me what to do. A lot of people will do that for real estate too. So they'll put in, and I'll tell you how this works. I had a client come over, buy a house in the area that I was selling, and it was a nice home, and he was from Vancouver, and he had an expensive condo in North Vancouver, and he didn't know who to hire to sell. And I said, well, I'll find you somebody, right? Well, I didn't know anybody either. So I went on the internet and I Googled his building. And up came a video of an agent who had posted something to YouTube on that building. It was 3 years old. I didn't care. I knew about an agent that knew something about that building. I contacted him. He got the listing. I got my referral fee, and we're all happy. Over a 3-year-old video. Yeah, so don't underestimate the power of these search engines. And what I mean by keywords is you need to allow that search engine to know that this has something to do with real estate. So you would want to put Nassau real estate, the Bahamas real estate. You would want to put your personal name. You would want to put terms like condo for sale or home for sale. Anything that matched what you think a consumer is going to do to search is the keywords that you want to have in place. It goes the same with you building your personal website. If you're building your website and you have, or even your about profile here, so let's go back to the account. In your biography, he doesn't have one here and he should. You should have your name, you should have something about real estate for sale in the Bahamas, or even your long tail keywords, if you know what those are. People will start searching for, I want a bungalow for sale in a certain region priced at this. And so if you start adding that you specialize in this area, you helped people find condos for sale, you got to use those words that you think the consumer will be typing in. Your site will come up and it'll start to rank higher and higher if those words are there. So Google crawls the internet and looks for the text that's in these websites. That's what they're looking for more than ever, is text. And if your text matches the words, you'll be found. So your biography is more important than you think because it does more than just tell people about you. It tells Google about you and the search engines. Any questions on that? Okay. Okay, when we go into auto load, let's go into a demo account. Do we have brokers or staff in here that load listings for their agents? Yeah? Okay, what's going to happen here, it's not quite here yet, but we're working on it now. In your Interface Express account, because we have not converted the back end of Interface yet into the new format, so you're still, as brokers or assistants, staff, you're still going to use Interface Express. There's going to be a drop-down list right under the quick search that allows you to select any agent in your office, okay? When you select that agent, you're going to log directly into their exposure control center. You will be able to set up their websites for them. You will be able to assign their listings to their photographers. You can do everything, all right? And I think in certain situations, that's the best way to get the job done. And you're responsible to make your brokerage look awesome. So you can do that. You can order your branding for your brokerage. You can get your brochures made. You can get them in place. You can control everything. All right? So you're now impersonating Eugene here, and you're going to his listings tab, and you're clicking on MLS Autoload. Okay? Now, I just want to not do this because it's live. I want to use a different account. Another thing that I want to show you is I had two windows open. I had one with Alex and I had one with Eugene. The last one I logged in was with Eugene. What happens when I go back and click on the browser with Alex and it's still there? Who am I really logged in as? If I change something on Alex's account, I'm really changing something on Eugene's account. So you assistants and brokers that may have two windows open at the same time, be sure that you don't do that, okay? Make sure that you only are logged in as one agent at a time, because a computer is not smart enough to know. If you're going to have multiple agents working at the same time, use Safari for one browser or something like that, Chrome for the other. And then you can do that because you're using two complete web browsers. Any questions on that? That's important. Okay, let's get the mic because these questions are important.
If the admin is in there updating someone's profile and they happen to be in their profile making updates, will either update?
Yep, they'll both update.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because
they
they're on
won't
a
affect
different
each other.
computer. And typically that doesn't happen because you're either the agent's totally independent of you and doesn't want anybody touching their system, or you kind of care for everything. But because they're on a different computer, it'll be fine. Yeah. The chances of you hitting the upload button at exactly the same millisecond is. I just want to make sure if both of y'all changes that both changes. Yep. 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 Okay. So you're impersonating an agent, so we're just going to get out of Eugene's account, and we're going to go back into this demo account. And by the way, the board itself, the staff, can impersonate any agent in the whole board area. So the board also has the ability to help agents out, which is a nice feature. Then the brokerage has the ability to help agents out. And so it's very user-friendly in that way, where everybody can help everyone else from kind of the top down. All right, so we're going to impersonate Alex here, and we're going to go to her listings tab. So we're now going to put a listing into the MLS. Agents, of course, are encouraged to do this themselves if possible, but in this scenario, maybe the broker does this for them. So they will click on auto load. This will be structured a little bit more uniquely to you. You will add the street address and the information that's needed for your board area. Let's say that the brokerage has their own Matterport camera as an example. Does any brokerage here have a camera like that? Yes? Okay. Do you have somebody that uses it for your agents? Yes? Okay. So you could be sure that your photographer was in this list, and then what you could do is select that photographer, then you could give them instructions. They will get that email, they'll go to that listing, and they will then be able to populate this listing with the photos, the media, the measurements, and so on. Whatever you tell them to do, it'll be in place. So that's a very useful thing that you can do as a brokerage. But if you know that that individual agent prefers a different photographer, you can assign the other photographer, and that photographer will get the email and go do the job. But let's say the agent's bringing you back the photos. You can just simply go to the next. Oh, I need to put something in here. See, the system is smart enough that it doesn't let you go to the next step if you've missed the information it needs. So it won't kick back to you in the end saying, sorry, you didn't have the information we needed. It'll take you down the garden path in a way that serves your needs. Okay, again, when you're dropping the pin, this is incredibly important. Let's say you do not want to have an exact location of that property for certain properties, then drop it in this vicinity and put approximate. Okay, that's one way that you can deal with that. In this case, it's accurate, so you can do that. And again, when Street View comes here, you can set up Street View. Okay, going to photos. So again, it's unlimited to photos. Whatever you have, you can use. So you can pull these and copy them, choose them. The agent can come in after the fact and rearrange them too if they want. He can add captions or she can add captions. They can do whatever they want. You can select them and delete them. You can select them all and delete them all, do it again, whatever you want, that's there. And they'll upload in the background. And again, they're captured at 1280 is what they're downsized to. So you can put images in at 1500, but it'll downsize them to 1280. But you can't put them in at like 15 megapixels. It tells you here it needs to be a minimum of 640 pixels in width and height and less than 10 megabytes in size. Okay, 10 is a big picture. But if you have one of these DSLR cameras and you have it on the highest resolution, those may be too big for this system because they're 5,000 pixels wide. And so there's no point in taking pictures that big unless you're doing some high gloss brochure in a high-end catalog. In that case, you can buy a piece of software that downsizes them automatically for you to a size that this system can handle. So you could get them all downsized to 1500 wide or 1280 wide and put them in. Okay, this system will also handle upright photos, but they still don't look that good compared to the landscape ones, but it will handle them if you want to put them in. All right, any questions on photos? Photos are the #1 media element that consumers look for. So it is your most important piece that you're going to add to your listing is photos. No toilet seat up, right? No dog drinking out of the toilet. I mean, our photos represent that seller, they represent that listing, they represent us as agents. So if we put the best quality materials in the system we can, then good for us. Yeah? Any questions on that?
I mean, the first one on the second row, that looks wider than the rest.
Yep, you're actually correct. They are. I randomly selected these photos and put them in one folder, and I think they're probably all different sizes. So, yes, you can have multiple sizes in. I would encourage you to go full screen. I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that. There's one photographer in this board that is really fussy about how his images look. Okay, so let's just see if I can show you an example. So here's basically your 2x3 dimensions, right? Now I need to find one that's listed by this specific company, and just so you know, down here it'll give credit to the media company that serviced this listing. So it says media provided by the something FlexR shop, and it'll link out to their website. I'm looking for a company called Artez. So just bear with me here. It's worth the wait. They work mostly out of Nanaimo. And I can tell because I'll be able to see their logo at the bottom of the page. Oh, bear with me. And you can certainly tell the difference between their photography and other photography. Okay. So you see that they've got their brand down here. So if we go full screen on here, look at the difference. Now he chose this format, so he uploads his listings to that exact dimension. If you teach your photographers to do the same, now remember that every screen size is different. So, but typically, screen sizes are starting to be this format, sort of. That's why you see these images moving. So for example, this image moves in this screen because this screen boxes it up. But if you're looking at it on a smartphone, it's a different size. On an iPad, it's a different size again. So that's why we have that movement. And but when you go full screen, you know, there's a major difference between this one and this one, right? But they both paid for photographers. Okay. So just little things to make us look better. Any questions on that? Yes, we'll get that. Let's get the mic to you.
So, if you can upload the video, photos in different widths, can you also do like one panoramic?
Yeah, not here. The panoramics, because of the IDX systems and the things that go out, the RETS feeds and so on, we can't put panoramas here, even though we've been asked that numerous times, because it's a pretty cool idea, right? But what we can do is we can add panoramas into the system through an app that we have called the Exposure app. So if you go on the App Store on an iPad, you can download this Exposure app. You can add panoramas there. And let me just go to see if I can find another photographer's work, because he always does panoramas. Okay, got it first time. So here on his floor plans, you see this panorama icon. If you click on that, it will open up a panorama. Also under the multimedia link, it will show those panoramas. So I would love to put them in the photo gallery, but it's just too complicated with the MLS structure that's already in place. But definitely, adding panoramas inside and outside a house, overlaying them on a floor plan. In this case, for example, here's the aerial view of the building. It's pretty cool to be able to add this kind of content to that listing. And it really gives the user, or the consumer, a really good idea of what you're doing here. Like, how else do you show that this is on the top of the building, right? It's complicated, but when you have the arrows sitting on top of the building, you get an idea that's where this is. It's not the guy's personal deck, it's the rooftop deck for everyone. And you could add a little video clip icon and put the video clip there and explain exactly what this is. So there's no end to the customization you can do to any individual listing. Any questions on that? Okay, good. Okay, so we're back on this listing. So we've added the photos. We click next. If that realtor or agent brought you back floor plans, you can of course add those floor plans there as well, like we looked at. You can add a PDF of that floor plan. Make sure that you add them here as images though. So it can be a JPEG image or a PNG, because then it pulls it into the image section where they're building brochures. And so those floor plan images will be there to build a brochure. If you're gonna add that image as a floor plan, don't have a little tiny floor plan on a great big white background, because this system looks at the full image. So crop that floor plan to have maybe an inch of a white background around it, and then it'll show that floor plan much better and a higher resolution instead of that big white sheet, if that makes sense. If you add it as a PDF, then they can download that PDF and print it themselves. That's why it's good to have it as a PDF. Adding that virtual tour, our video tour is here, so feel free to upload those videos. And also put that video on YouTube for sure, without question. but having it in this system is good. The reason that we didn't allow you to connect YouTube or Vimeo to this system by just dropping a link is when they're done watching your video, what comes up next? The next realtor's video. So this really truly is all about you. You spent the money. We don't want the next agent necessarily to get the credit for all the work you did in building this. So the video is all about you and it stays with you, and that's why we upload it directly to our servers. Okay, again, the Matterport and the iGuide, so it doesn't really matter what link you put in. It's smart enough to know to use the unbranded link. And then don't worry about this. This is a Canadian thing. We have a national site in Canada called Realtor.ca. It's actually owned by the industry, not like Realtor.com that's now bought out by a third party. Zillow is another third party. Trulia is a third party. Homes.com. The industry owns none of those sites. And yet that's where all the consumers are going. And so what they're doing with those sites is they're getting more and more sophisticated. So now when the media wants information on real estate, they go to Zillow to get the information. They don't go to the board. So who controls the consumer? Zillow does. And they paid to get there. If you want to be beside your listing, you need to pay them to be beside your own listing, right? Otherwise, 4 other agents do. And trust me, it's $1,000 a postal code a month. They're not doing it for free. So I know that I'm pushing the public side a little bit, and you're not comfortable with that. But there's a reason for that, because if the consumer gets used to coming to our systems as an industry owned by the board, who are they going to go to for advice? The board, the agents of the board. If we add the trends information into your MLS system and you can provide that to banks, to appraisers and other people, who are they going to come to for information? Us. If we allow somebody else to come in and eat our cake, so to speak, we've lost. So yes, it's uncomfortable that maybe by having the board have a public portal and everybody having their listings there, maybe somebody will get business, maybe you could have gotten, but really it's all about getting listings, period. And so if you have a listing, you are being represented on that site for you alone, okay? Whatever listings you have is the percentage of that site that you own, but we own it. So what Zillow's doing now is they are opening their own brokerages, okay? So that was never supposed to happen. Well, it's happening in Arizona now, and they own the consumer. So guess what? Who makes all the commissions? They do. They can hire people as employees to do the sales and pay them $10 an hour. It changes everything. So there's a bigger reason behind this. This is why I quit selling, and this is why we designed this product, is to beat that before it happens in Canada. It's too late in the States. I was at the NAR conference in Boston. The biggest thing they talked about, how do we get our data back? There's no answers. It's done. They tried upstream. If you follow that, it failed. So there's reasons why we want to get involved in a product like this. We want to support our infrastructure that we have here in the Bahamas, and we can do that by using this simple mechanism called Autoload to upload our listings and our media, and it builds this entire platform for us. So you'll get comfortable with it. Trust me, it's been out long enough that we've worked through the kinks where realtors were upset about certain features. We've worked through those, and everybody seems to be quite content. If there's something that's a blaring problem in your region, just let us know. We'll figure it out. Yeah, because we want this industry to be successful. Any questions about that? Yeah, it's good. Yeah. What are you logging into?
I guess the Bria, it's coming up with
Are you logging into Interface Express?
I guess I am.
Maybe the link is not showing on that screen size. So log.
Yeah, I understand it's in the right-hand corner, but it sounded to me like this is what should be coming up at this point.
No. Interface Express is your system still until you're fully educated as a board on exposure. Then we're going to shut Interface Express down. But we're going to get you hopefully using the new exposure tools as much as possible, as quickly as possible.
So the changes that you're making
Yeah, so they would need to have yeah, you're right. We don't have the public site out there yet. No, you're right, good point. So if you go to the Bahamas MLS site, we don't have this new structure there. Just let me show you what it looks like. And we're gonna wait till you have most of your photos and stuff uploaded, and you've been able to add a bunch of content. So when they go to this portal, this is what it will open up like. If you want to, if the board wants to do anything with the logo colors and so on, we can do that, just so you know. We just threw this together quickly so that it was representative of Bahamas, but we can make it look even sharper. The way it's structured, it continues to help this get elevated too, because eventually we're gonna have your open houses on there as well, being displayed. And again, anytime any single listing is opened, it will open up in that agent's template with their brand, their image, their logo. You know, if they customize it, it's all about them. So don't get caught up in this being a competitor with your website. This is your website. So this particular site that was opened from that, we call that basically a distribution portal, is to get consumers to your website that was created in the MLS. Okay? Sure. If you want to play with some of this stuff more, you can go to exposureapp.com, no E on the front, just exposureapp.com, and you can go under say, content creation. Actually, no, I don't have custom one there. We could look at you change that. You can go into the control center, go under the branding tab, and this is the easiest way to do it. It's not a live site, it's just an image, but this gives you an idea of what some of the agents have done. As your agents start customizing their look, you're going to see, as you're searching through the MLS, you're going to see the listing in their template. You'll start to see some of the great ideas that agents come up with. And it's incredible what people come up with for unique designs, because it's all the same layout, but everything is unique to that agent's personality, which I love, because I want to know that that agent has the same, I don't know, characteristics or feeling that I do. And this branding really makes that work. And you know, if you get a client that you can't stand, you don't want them anyway. You know, so try to attract the people that you want to work with, and it's a lot more fun to do this job. So yeah, there's, you can also do, is there teams here? Do people work in teams? Yeah? Well, so you can do a team template too. And so what that would mean is, to make this system work very easy for a team, you want one member of that team to always be the primary listing agent and then use that account. Then it's easy. Does that make sense? Okay. So those questions will probably come to the board and then come back to us. But if one of those people, so let's say it's her, she's always the primary listing agent, Sarah's her name. So always the listings go under her name. They all show up in this template. They all work together. This is husband and wife, and that's their assistant, and they do their job, and it works perfectly, okay? So you can get a team custom look and do whatever you want. If you want to look at some of this stuff live, go back to that exposure site. Go to, for example, the board's portal. Let's go, say, to the Cobox Valley. And then just start opening up some of the listings. You can see what some of these agents have done. This one I don't really care for, but there it is. Here's another team. I actually like the look of this one. So, you know, give it some thought. The most important thing that you can possibly do to get a good looking template is take a good image with a beautiful background And make sure you leave lots of room on either side of you. Do not crop that image. If you're going to send it to us, give us lots of room, below, above, on both sides, okay? And take it as high res as you possibly can. Give us the best quality image you can. And if you do that, then that's fantastic. If you give us an image with you taken against a green screen with the background cut out, and then you can choose the background you want, we can make that work too. It always does look better though if it's a natural setting. It just looks more natural. And in fact, if we just go back to the brand tab, we look at this, guys. Looks a little bit phony. I don't know if you can tell there. That's because he was taking this inside of a studio and his hair's all fuzzy. And so cropping out his hair was tough. And this image was taken from wherever, right? So there's different ways of getting a better look. Some people don't want their face, so they use their logo. And that's fine too. It's not very personal. So you don't get a feel for what this team is doing. You just see their logo, and they use billboards and everything else to advertise that logo, so it's important to them, but they're spending tens of thousands of dollars a month to advertise that logo. I don't know. I think it's better to use your face, who you are. Okay, questions again? No? Okay. Okay, back to auto loads. So you're doing this again all manually. So you go to Documents. Again, in this Documents tab, you can upload all of the documents, if you want to, associated with this property. So let's say it's the title. You can choose the file. You can upload that document, and that document is then available for any realtor to see. Again, if anything comes for questions to the board about this and you want things changed, please let us know and we'll make these terminologies fit your board, okay? So I don't know, for example, do you do a property disclosure statement? Does that sound familiar? No? So we'll want to use the documents that you use, okay? So we need to know what those are and we'll get them in the system. But let's say, let's get rid of this. And let's say we're going to put the listing contract in here. We choose the file. You see when I chose that file, it automatically switched to being only viewable by listing and managing brokers, listing agents and managing brokers. That's another thing we want the board to tell us what to do, is what document should be viewed by who. And we'll put that in place so it's automated. So you choose that file and you add that document. It puts it under a different category. And now only you and your managing broker can see that document. So you can put all your secure documents here if you want, and you can put all the documents you want realtors to see under that category. All right? Open houses. Again, we talked about this earlier. With open houses here, you can set it to the public open house or an agent open house. Do you do just agent open houses here? Yeah? Okay, so you can set that accordingly. You can also assign it here to any other agent in your board that you want to do that open house for you. Probably it's going to be somebody in your office, but maybe it's going to be your best friend that works in a competing brokerage. I don't know. But you can do that. In British Columbia, we are no longer allowed to sell our own listings as of 3 months ago. That's the way the industry is going. For whatever reason, that corner of the world is always the first to change in technology. Matrix is a big MLS platform. It was developed along with ours. It was a competitor of ours. This new platform is designed right there. I don't know why it is, but that's where a lot of MLS technology comes from. And so when you see changes there, they start to take place in other places. And if you really think about the logic behind that, maybe we're getting off on a tangent here, but if you hired a lawyer because your neighbor sued you, would you hire the same lawyer that your neighbor hired? Why? You want your own representation. If you're trying to get the best deal on a house, should you use the agent that's listing and selling the house? I mean, I love to double end properties, don't get me wrong. But eventually that may change. And if it does, you know, there's pieces and tools in place to make it easier to swallow. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon in the Bahamas, but you never know. Okay, So you can add that to any agent. Let's just go look at what this looks like, and this again will be on the Bahamas MLS site. So if we look at VIREB's portal, so another board, you'll see that there's an open house tab there. And so the consumer can look at these open houses, and then they can click on dates, and they can have a slider here to only show it for Saturday, for example, and Sunday. It'll give them a week to look at, and then these are the only listings. And if they only want to look in, let's say, the Comox Valley, then it'll bring those listings that are available in the Comox Valley. Okay. I see there's a bug there that needs to be fixed. So when they open up that listing, it'll open up in the template. This agent hasn't added her image. It'll open up in the template of whoever's been assigned to do that job of open house. So typically you would do it here because you can still double in that property. In BC, they would assign it to somebody else that wants to do the open house. Any questions on that? Okay, cancel this. Measurements. So what's the rules, the board rules? What do you need to add for measurements in your board area? Anything? Okay. And what is the total square foot? The whole property? Okay, all right, interesting. So it's covered decks, garages, and the property, the house itself? And the lot property. Okay, so that's definitely a very good start, because then your stats, the trends work a lot better. The trends don't actually worry about pulling room sizes. This is really just for the consumer's benefit to see how big the rooms are. So you're covering the main features, which is good. So all you need to do is put these square footages in place where they belong, and you can tab through these and put them in like normal. If anything isn't the way it needs to be, again, let us know, and we'll correct that for your group. But if you want to add the rooms, we've put these rooms in, the ones that we think you're going to use the most often, and then we've got a list below. If you want unique rooms, because we don't have the correct room names for your region, let us know and we'll add those names for your region, because you may have names that are common here. A Bahama room, is that a common name? And what does that mean? See, there you go. So we would want to put that in there. And then if you choose the Bahama room as that room, and then you put that it's so big, 12 feet by 12 feet, the consumer immediately knows how big that room is. And so it's a huge value. So if you want to spend the time to do that, we're just adding more value to the listing. And then when it comes to data entry, these will be according to your statuses, according to what's in place now. So let's say it was a residential listing. We talked about the color coding elements. This is just to speed things up for you. And so the red is mandatory. Gray is optional. But the more fields that you fill out, the better, for example, PCS will work. Because if somebody puts something very unique in here, let's say down here, for amenities, for example. Maybe that's a bad example, but let's say somebody only wants houses with a pool, and that's what they search for, but you did not mark that this listing had a pool. Is your house going to show up on that PCS search? Okay. Additional accommodations, so site influences. Let's say it's waterfront or oceanfront. If you don't mark it as oceanfront and somebody only searches for oceanfront, will it show up? No. So this is incredibly important that you mark everything accurately that that property has. If you mark it inaccurately, you're going to look very bad, And that's why we should have that flag in place, so that's reported as an improperly marked listing and it can get corrected. You see, there's just too many elements for the board to catch the mistakes. There's too many elements, but you as agents will catch them. And if you can have the ability to flag them, I think that would be a great feature for improved listings. Okay, any questions about this part of auto load? Okay, let's get the hand there. You know what, I'm actually in a different board's form right now, so it will be the same as what you're used to. Yeah, I'm just, because this is actually live, I don't want to put a listing into your system, because then I'll be the guy getting flagged, right? So yeah, your forms will be the same as what you're used to. And then if you can see things to improve down the road, we'll start getting a list together and we can make those changes, okay? Any other questions? So again, you can impersonate the agent, you can upload this for them, you can assign it to the photographer. When that media comes back, it'll all be in place. You can go ahead and complete this, and you can save a draft of this until all that media is in place, and then you can submit it. It won't let you submit it without your photos, but you can certainly finish what you can finish and save it. Then when that media is there and your photographer lets you know it's completed, then you can submit the listing. Okay? Good. All right, that's it for auto load then. Now, let's put it out to the audience. What aspects of this system would you like more understanding of? Anything that anyone saw earlier that they want to go deeper on? Yes. Okay. Okay, so let's look at an example of that. So this is a very important question because you need to understand how this works. And you do not need to participate in this if you do not want to. We're calling it reciprocity of media, and this is how it works. This is the listing agent and the site that they've built around this listing. They're the owner of that listing. They've added floor plans. They've added a 3D showcase, so it's the Matterport one. They have their details. Now, we're going to talk about what details show differently. We'll talk about that in a different topic here. They've also added a more info button, okay? And the more info button, she's basically put together a detailed spread of unique elements of that property. If she added a video tour, that would also show here, or a brochure would show here. Now, if the consumer came to her website, her brokerage's website using the exposure tools, or the board site, that's what would show up. Her template, her media, all about her. But let's say that the consumer came to a different brokerage, and this brokerage had all the listings, and they opened up the website of the realtor that was on duty at that given time through that brokerage. This media is being shared by that agent. So she's sharing her floor plans and her 3D showcase with this brokerage, this agent. She doesn't need to do that. You can opt out of doing this. But if you opt out of doing this, you don't have the privilege of showing anyone else's media. It's that reciprocity. It's that MLS thing. But just so you know, you don't have to do it. The reason that I like this is the consumer always gets to see the media, the important media, and the seller gets that home represented the way the seller wants that home represented. Those high-res photos, those floor plans, the 3D showcase show through. But the video tour, the brochure, and the more information link, those don't go through because they're all dedicated to that agent and that brokerage. Okay? Here's another thing I was just thinking about for brokerages. Under the About thing, why don't you do a video about your brokerage and your agents and let all of your agents upload that video? If they're not going to do their own, you could do one for them and it would be there. But anyway, that's getting off topic. So this is if they came to a brokerage site. Let's say they came to an agent's website and they clicked on that agent's portal and found this listing. Again, the floor plans and the 3D showcase will go through. It's all about this agent, and they get to show that house in all its glory. Okay, so I know this may actually go outside of some people's comfort zone because you're spending money on that content and you're giving it away to the whole rest of the board. And you may think that's counterproductive because we're so competitive. But the concept is to represent that seller the best way we possibly can. And if they find out that the work that you're doing, that's spending all this money on this excellent content, is going to be spread across 400 agents and 400 websites, that's pretty powerful. Yes? Okay, so this is no longer IDX and it's no longer RETS. This is built truly in exposure. So IDX and RETS will still work as they always have, but they don't carry media with them. The systems aren't smart enough. Not only that, we didn't want your media that you own as an industry to go to third parties. We wanted you to be able to keep ownership within your board. So we built a new way of distributing listings through the exposure product. So this is Jason's site, for example, and if you click on search, hopefully we don't lose our Wi-Fi, his portal comes up, and so it can be the business site that Exposure produces, or this can be his own site. His personal portal comes up. When you click on one of the listings, it opens up in his template. There's the media that's flowed through. So he gets to be able to show the consumer from his site that listing and all that media. And as much media is added for all the different listings, he gets all of that. But so does every other agent. That's why there is inequality in what we do. And so on your system, it will show across the images that the listing is shared through the MLS, the Bahamas MLS. So if consumers are savvy, they'll realize this is a reciprocity listing. But really the point is to sell the listing, to get it sold and to get the highest price that you can get. And you know you can get the highest price when you have 400 other salespeople trying to sell it. And so that's the structure. Go ahead. Okay, so the question is what happens when this listing expires and the agent wants to relist it? They have to start all over again. Yep. Yep. Even if you relist it, it's a new listing number. No, because it just shows it as an expired listing. Yeah, so if that pulls up that way and you know that as an agent, yeah, you can remove that listing from your spread because you're smarter than that and you know that listing is skewed. But computers are only so smart, then we need to tell them what to do. So that CMA product is smart enough to let you remove the ones you want. So agents that are really detail-oriented would want to bring in, say, 10 actives and 10 solds and remove, say, 5 of them and keep the best 5. That's what I would do. Yeah. Yep. Let's go to your question, though, about relist, because I like that one. let's say your listing expired and you wanted to relist it. We got to sign in as an actual agent here. Okay, so this is Murray's listings. These are his active and his solds. Eventually, the solds will be put into an archive mode. I'm going to show you something about solds too in a second. But here's his expired listings. And there's a button here that's called relist. And if you click that button, it'll relist that property by bringing all the media, photos, all the data, everything back in place. All you need to change is the price and the dates of your listing contract and anything else that's changed. You're responsible to change anything else, but instead of having to start from scratch with everything, it brings it all in for you, okay? Builds a new MLS listing, a new MLS number, and you're relisting that property. So it should save you a lot of time with that. Now, if we look at some of these sold properties, let's just click on marketing features here. Let's say that your buyer or the buyer of this property absolutely wants it wiped off the internet and he does not want his property being shown anywhere. It'll stay in the MLS, which is under lock and key password with us as realtors. But if you click this button, remove this listing from the internet, it will wipe it off all the public systems, okay? So if you're showing the properties you've sold on your own website, it will no longer be there because that person has requested that. Let's get the mic in the back. Just a second. Sorry, I can't even hear you up here.
So I understand it's pulling through to all the individual agent sites through exposure. But how do you, is there a code you give your developers to pull it into outside sites if there's no IDX feed? Like how are we getting all of the MLS information into sites outside of this exposure platform? Like into
What kind of a
brokerage
site?
Into a brokerage site. So that's outside of the,
Into a brokerage site?
yeah. Is there a code that we give the developers
Yes,
that will pull it all
so-
through or?
Anything that we do for brokerages, you're going to see under branding, there's a section here, brokerage templates, and then there's more information. If you click on that more information tab, the second video down is going to explain how all these brokerage videos work, and then you can sign up to get this. It's a $39.95 fee to the brokerage to have these tools in place. And what that gets you we don't touch your website. So this is a brokerage of about 15 agents. We don't do anything to do with their site, but we give you this code to your web developer to put into your site. And it allows the consumer to select the type of properties and their price range and things like that. And then search. We then give you this portal. All the listings are brought into here. Your listings are shown first. We also customize the template. It's included in that price, so it looks like your brokerage. It has your colors, your logo, your feel. It's all about your agents, though. We have a calendar in the back end so that any properties that are not yours, let's say they're reciprocity listings, they're all brought in here. When a consumer clicks on them, it opens up in the agent that's assigned to floor duty at that given period of time, and there's a calendar all built in that you can just set for the month. And you can change agents on the fly. Everything's worked out to a fine science there. But your agents love this sort of thing if they're there, if you have multiple agents. Of course, the media comes through as well. We also have an entire stats package built into that system. Let me show you that, for example. Let's go to an individual brokerage, and I'll show you how that works. So you have a control center where you can impersonate all of your agents to help them out. This is what it looks like. So I'm going to go to site stats here, and I'm going to view my monthly site stats. And let's say we're going to go to the month of January. Okay, we can see that This company's system shows that they had 73,182 visits to the websites that their agents produced through the system. We can see to their portal itself, there's 20,807 visits, and then we can see how many visits came through the board site. And because this one's spread across 2 boards, we see for each board. And then we go to individual listings. You can click on the stats there, or we can click on this little icon that takes us to the website. So we can see this agent had 40 people like this through Facebook. He had all kinds of media added. Well, let's open up the stats and just look at it a bit more. This stats system will let you look at this listing in hundreds of different ways to see, you know, where did these 1,200 visits come from? You can see 937 of them came through Facebook. That's incredible, right? For free. And no doubt this agent got his seller to post it to that seller's Facebook account. And everything else was free. He may have advertised on Facebook, and that would maybe account for some of those visits. But I've seen how Facebook works. So he had 58 visits from his site, but well over 1,000 through Facebook. You can also see if the listing has been looked at through other brokerage websites that are using the exposure tools. So it's pretty cool to see where the traffic is coming from. Yes, let's take that question in the back.
Actually, that was one of the questions I had along the lines of listings, performance, and stats. From an administrator or broker's perspective, can I track or generate a report for multiple agents in one environment as managing from the broker or administrator?
The site traffic for multiple listings? No. No,
Okay.
the system isn't powerful enough to do that. It will tally, well, at least I don't know that for sure. This is a system that we've purchased to bring in here because it's too expansive to have built. So there may be ways to do that, but I don't think if we pull too much information, the system crashes because it's literally thousands of bits of information, or I should say hundreds of millions of bits. So we actually put the system on the Amazon servers because we need the servers that are so fast that they can deliver this information to you. So to break it down into multiple formats like that may be difficult. That being said, if you're a real techie guy, you can go onto your agent's listings. So let's just look at an agent here. Let's go to his listing. Let's click marketing features. Let's go right to the bottom. You can use this Google Analytics tracking ID or the Facebook Pixel ID, and you can put them on your sites and so on to be able to track how many visits have came to this site.
Okay.
Okay, so those tools are in place if you want to do that in multiple ways.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I can't explain that because that's now getting a little bit past my experience.
Okay. The other two questions, one is with the billing interface or the hosting, I think that Realty Service does for their broker or agent. Is that, is it safe to say that it's a lot faster than the RETS or the IDX feed? I think the IDX, they take, what, a couple hours to get an update?
Good question. Exposure is within 1 minute. IDX and RETS is typically once or twice a day.
Okay. And is to add some kind of a back-end thing between the brokers so that if, let's say you had a listing that was overpriced, that brokers and agents can just put a comment or a rating on the price or condition to just kind of make the listing a little bit more active as well as accurate pricing-wise? Is there something that can be added so that it's only visible to brokers and agents?
Yeah. You know how many fights that would cause? Yes. Such things are possible. But should we do all things? We're going to leave that one alone. But wouldn't that be great, eh? You know, we could put it in there where we could allow the consumers to comment on listings, things like that, but comes a point where it's just not worth it. Yeah. Too many people get hurt feelings and the truth hurts, is that what they say? Yeah. All right, so yes, so the exposure feed into that exposure distribution, yeah, is every minute, whereas the RETs and IDX feeds are once or twice a day, depending on your provider. So it's definitely much faster. So there's an advantage there for you if you're using these tools. And of course, these tools are completely free, included in the system. So did we cover, I think we covered that area. What other elements of this system would you like to look at a little bit deeper? Was the CMA something that was of interest? Yeah? Okay, so let's just log out of here, and I'll log in and show you that CMA. And I would like to cover those trends just a little bit more as well. So this CMA is coming hopefully by April 1st is the target date. Okay, so the CMA is its own module. Again, there's going to be a tab that says Buyer CMA and Seller CMA. You in this region, unfortunately, will have to enter some of this information manually because we can't pull through databases. So that's the only drawback here is this information will be needed to be added by you. And then you want to suggest what you think that property is going to list at if you want to. Otherwise, it's going to look at your bedrooms, bathrooms, the age, and the total square foot, the property type, like single-family dwelling, and it's going to pull listings around those features. But a listing that's 100,000 could have the same features as a listing that's $1 million. It could. And so if you put the approximate price you think that's going to list at, it'll simplify that process for you. And you can always go back and adjust that. In fact, if you see here that the price spread is too much, you can just adjust it right here, and you can say, I only want to look at listings between 475 and 550,000, and it will then readjust, recalibrate, and use the algorithm to pull only those listings. These are color-coded here so that you can see, oh, that listing is for sale. I see what that is. If you want to view this in detail, you can just click on the detail here. It will open it up in the agent template that owns that listing. If you want to see the active listings, they're there, and so on. Okay. Also, you can adjust how far back you want to look at sold listings or expired listings. So if you only want to go 3 months back, you can do that. It may, affect how many solds or expireds are found. So if it doesn't find enough, you may have to go back further and further, 4 or 5 months. But if your market is changing rapidly, you can only go back so many months before they're invalid, right? Here you can set this that you want to find 10 actives and you want to find 10 solds. It'll go and it'll do that. But then you say, okay, well, I only want to find listings in this one area. You can click on this menu here and you can actually draw around the area where you only want the system to search for listings. And it will look, and it can still find, it's still finding what you want, but you see the solds are going back to the 3rd month of 2018. So it's going back almost a year to look for 10 solds. But if you're fine with that, then you can just move forward. Again, you can choose things like if you just want waterfront or a certain type of a house, or only houses with 2-car garages. But the more that you filter it down, of course, the least amount of choices you're going to have for comparables. So you want to go easy on your filters. As you filter down, you're going to see that these change. So let's say we only want ones with a 2-car garage. We only have 3 actives now. So that's all that's going to show. We can still go back to 10 solds. There's enough there, but we only have 3 actives. So let's just get rid of that. All right, so we're back up to 10 and 10, so let's go next. And now you can see that the active listings are categorized, and you can take a look at those, and you can decide, you know, is this a listing that actually matches my subject property? And yeah, that one does, and so does that one. It's nice when agents put a front photo because it makes it easier for doing CMAs. And I don't even know if this agent put a front photo at all. Yes, he did. For some reason, it's at the end. You can say, no, you know what, that does not match the style of this house. So it is 2145 Sifton Lane. So you're going to just click that, and you're going to, as soon as you click it, this button comes up to remove that selected property. You're going to remove it. And then you're going to keep going through and make sure that your comparables are the ones you want. And maybe you'll narrow it down to only 5. So for example, this one doesn't fit Pleasant Street, so you're going to get rid of that one. By the time you get down to 5 and 5 for 5 actives, 5 solds, maybe you've got a few pendings in there, you're going to have some pretty good comparable properties to that subject property. And then you're going to move next. Again, this prospecting thing will then use the criteria that you put in at the beginning to go through PCS to search for all the searches in PCS that are set up with that same criteria that you added, okay? And then it's going to say, and it's going to tell you how many searches match that subject property, that if you listed it that way, this is how many searches would match. And you can see that if you price it at $515, you've got 879 searches. If you price it at $519.9, you still have that many. If you go up another 5,000, you've only lost 4. If you go up another 5,000, you'll lose 231 searches. So my thinking is, let's keep it at $524.9. That's the perfect price. We get the most bang for our buck. And so you can justify your thinking in front of your consumer, your seller, by looking at what's actually happening in the MLS. And then we go next. And here we can see that we can include our public listing portal if we want. This includes signature is your personalized signature that you can include at the end of all your emails through your MLS system. You can put your seller's email and so on. Or you can just take this with you and open it up there. Or you can email it to yourself as far as that goes. So you can click on this gateway link. And this is now your interactive CMA, we're calling it the CMA Gateway, that shows all of these listings in all their glory. But of course, when they're opened up, they open up in your template. It's all about you as an agent. And as you walk them through this, they can see where these listings are located. They can see what the status is, whether it's active, and then it totals all the averages at the bottom. And then in the summary, it will summarize the totals of the totals, okay, so that you can see as a final number what all your comparables averaged out to. And then this is the new trends feature that we would be interested to see if the board would like. You can look at the trends in the area of the subject property, or you can look at them right across the board area. And this will bring in the actual trends of the data that you as agents are entering into the MLS. So you can see the total units available across the board area, or in that region. You can see, for example, the average price of homes, say over a 5-year period. So you can show that seller, you know, things are climbing over 5 years, but if you click on 12 months, you can show them that, you know, the market is actually on the rise. So by showing them this, if you knew that the price should be right around 500 and the market's rising, where may you price it? You may go 510, you may go 520. What if the market's dropping? Where would you price it? You probably want to go 495 possibly, right? Because if the market's on a steep decline, you want to catch those possible last few buyers that are in the market, price it aggressively and get them. Well, you can explain this to the seller by looking at the actual facts from your own MLS system. So the better you learn how to use this system, the stronger that your presentation is going to be. And you can look at withdrawn, listed, expireds, and so on. There's different ways of looking at this content. You can also see what's happening with properties like theirs. So for example, if theirs is between 500 and 600,000, well, there's 340 listings in the board like that. And you can see the average sale of those properties is 547,000. And you know what? If theirs has 3 bedrooms, the average price was 542. But if it only has 1 or 2 bedrooms, it was down 1,000. If it had 4 bedrooms, it was up by 7,000, and so on. So there's different ways of looking at this information that will help you to be able to explain this to your seller. If we go into the trends itself, or actually if we look at the ability to put this into the listings as well, if we look at this agent's listing, that trends button can automatically be on all of your listings if this product is wanted by the board, and it will automatically be there for the consumer for those listings in that given area where that property is listed. And so it's a teaser to get the consumer to come back to you for more information, for more stats on a broader area, because this only goes for single family homes in Bachelor Heights. That's it. It doesn't show the whole board area. And if we go to back to our MLS system, we see that we can have a trends tab here that'll allow you to search through the board in any way that you choose to. You can search a certain island and see what's happening on that island. You can do, say, the price analyzer. We got to log in here. And you can see what's happening in that region as compared to another island. You have ways of breaking down the MLS data. You can look at the whole, all the islands as a whole. There's different ways of pulling different documents. And it's all automated. So you don't have to send stuff out to an Excel spreadsheet to be able to manipulate it all to make sense of the data. It's all being formatted for you and put into a PDF document. We're also going to build the ability for you to brand a header in this. Eventually that'll be in place. You can even see your own transactions. So you can download that and you can see what you're doing yourself as an agent. You can send this, it'll go right into an Excel spreadsheet or into a numbers spreadsheet. And so if you want to see at the end of the year, for example, all the business you did, what other agents you worked with, what brokerages you worked with, how many properties you sold, how many you listed and sold, all of it is there on a spreadsheet. So it's a pretty valuable piece of information, and there's dozens and dozens of reports that you can pull. You can also add the graphs to your own websites and things like that. So there's different ways of using these trends. So as we told the other two groups, this is an upgrade to your system, and it would cost $1 per agent per month if you want all these trends and charts putting into your MLS system. I see the value is there, but we're going to leave it up to the board to decide. Okay? Okay, any questions? Yep. So under your search, you have residential and IC&I, whatever you call it here, you might call it commercial. Basically, it's two separate MLS systems. Yep, they stand on their own. They function much in the same way as residential, but yeah, it's its own dedicated search. So you would select your commercial element and search those. So we did do some adjustments to the search. Let's go through those quickly. Let's do, for example, a residential search, and you're going to search a certain area with a certain type of property, single family. And then you're going to go for a price of, say, $600 to $650. That gives us 33 listings. You're also going to look at solds at the same time. And you're going to look back maybe 3 months. Oh, bear with me here. So let's go. We're going to go back to November 1st. That'll pull up 11 sold. So we got 33 actives, 11 sold. So we're going to click search. Okay, you can look at these in a grid, a thumbnail, or a map view. But let's look at the grid, because if you're a power user, you now have the ability to move these things around. So you could save this list. You can rearrange the results. So if you do that, you'll see that this lights up. You can just drag and drop these and put them in the order that you want to send them out to your client. Let's say that you want to change the way this grid looks. You can add and remove columns. So let's say we're going to add a percentage column, we're going to add a photo gallery, a location map button. We're also going to add the commission split and the days on market. You can apply that. And then what you'll do is you'll just take the header right above that category and click and drag it to where you want it. And that's where it'll sit. Whoop. And let's say we're taking the price sold and we're going to put it on the other side of the list price. And then we're going to take this percentage field and we're going to put it to the right of that. It will automatically calculate the list to sell ratio. So we see this one sold for exactly 100% of asking. This one was 98%. This one was 95. And then if you go to the bottom of your list, it will total all of the averages of everything that you've pulled up. So it's for, if you're, you're interested in what you're doing, it calculates this stuff automatically for you now. If you click on the photo icon, it'll let you look at the photo gallery really quickly. The map will let you look on the map. Things like this, if you click for more information there on the address, it will open it up in the agent's template that owns that listing. So you have his information and any media that they may have added to that individual listing, it will be there. And so, for example, here's a fellow that had his branded. So you start to see what other agents are doing, and it helps encourage more individualism, more branding, which makes the entire system more fun for the consumer to use. Okay? When you go to send these listings out, let's just select all of them, but you select the ones you want to send to your consumer. You now have the ability to either print them, email just a link, or email a link and data sheets. So let's do that. Let's use 12 client data sheets. And so what it'll do is it'll bring those all into this, but it'll also provide a link. And when your consumer, your client, clicks on that link, it opens up all of these listings in the MLS gateway and allows them to look at them just like you look at them. But when they open them up, they see only the client details and they see them in your template. So these are more than what the public side details are only basic details like we see here. When you sent them to a client, it gives more MLS details because they're now working with you. Okay? They're not the full agent details, but they're the next thing to it. And so that's the difference between details. If they come in the public side, they only have basic. That encourages them to phone you as an agent and try to get more information, right? Okay. So the experience for the consumer, again, is fully interactive. Consumers love this sort of thing. You added your public portal, so instead of, if they don't like the listings you sent, they can click on more listings and they have every listing in the board now. It's all about you. But if they open one of these now, well, we got a bug or an issue anyway. If they click on those, it'll open up the details, but only the public details. If they click a few of these listings, they have the ability to print them or email those listings back to you. And they can get driving directions and things like that. So it gives a lot of interactivity to your consumer, to your client. Any questions on the new search and the new MLS gateway? No? I think you guys are going to enjoy using that, and I think your clients are going to like it too. And if you tell them that they can select the ones they want and email them back to you, it'll simply open up this and it'll have your email right in place. That's why it failed, because I'm in the demo account. And when you open this up, you'll just see the two listings that they liked, and then you can set up the showing time to be able to get them shown. All right. Let's open it up to questions. I think we've answered and covered a lot of material. Any questions from anyone about anything? Okay, let's get the mic to you.
Going back, I may have jumped the gun a little. Last night I went home because I have a listing to add, and so I thought, well, let me add it in the new auto load thing.
Okay.
I was not able to get the location to get any further than that, to enter the street address. Are we not at the point where we can be entering listings that way?
Okay, it should, but there's going to be some bugs, and unfortunately, the first people to try this are going to get a few bugs. So let's just go to your account. If anybody needs to leave for an appointment, please feel free. You don't have to. You're not insulting me at all. I know you got appointments. Okay, so we're going to go to your board. Can you tell me your name?
Chandra Parker.
Jan?
Chandra, C-H-A-N-D-R-A.
Sorry, I can't hear properly.
Last name is Parker.
Okay, that's easier. Chandra, okay. All right, so we're going to your listings tab, and you clicked on MLS Auto Load. Okay, what's the address?
Well, here's where it gets complicated, right? It doesn't have a street number. It's Harbor Ridge Road. It's in a condo building called Living in Paradise. So the condo has a number, but the building does not have a number.
Okay, what's the unit number?
14.
But there's no building number?
Nope.
Yeah, this is where things get exciting.
So I tried entering the 14 as a street number, and it just wouldn't accept anything.
Yeah, okay, because it's
It
expecting
just
to have a
says
street
failed
number?
to create project, yeah.
Okay, and if you could use this map?
I tried that as well. It would not let me do it.
Okay, we'll get that looked at. So, is that common where you won't have an address? Yeah, okay. Wow. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to soften that first section where, and you know what that's going to determine? That's going to make you physically open up this map, zoom in, and drop the pin where you need to drop it. Yeah? Okay. Okay. All right, I'll talk to the tech department right after this. Any more anomalies like that, what I want you to do is I want you in the top of your exposure system to click Need Help. When you click on that, it will populate all your information. You just need to give it a subject and what's going on. Try to explain to us the best you can. If the guys have a problem figuring out what's wrong, they may ask you for a screenshot. For you technical ones, you know how you can do a video record right on your iPad or your phone? If you video record it and just send a link, that's even better, like if it's a real technical problem, but usually a screenshot does it, but usually just your request does it as well. So, but anyway, I'll phone that one in right away because that's a good one. You're going to find, because the Bahamas is unique to itself, we're going to have to work through a bit of this at the beginning, but we'll get through it and the system will work amazing once we're there. All right, thank you everyone so much. Was there any other questions before we wrap up? Yeah, one more. With the with commercial listings? Oh, it's exactly the same system. It's just on two different sides. It'll work the same way. Yep. Absolutely awesome. Thank you everyone for your attention. And it's nice to work with you.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, if y'all
Okay.
remember those